Okay, guys, I'm here today with James Clingerman. Guys, today we're gonna share one story here that has happened in his life. That first of all, I wanna say here that I asked him like 100 times before if he would be able to share that, if he would feel comfortable sharing. But James agreed that I think would help everybody because he had some accident happen in his life 20 years ago.
Yeah, about
20 years ago. That was the craziest thing I ever heard about. And Jiu-Jitsu helped him a lot to overcome what happened. So he's going to share it here with us in 2001. And you can keep going, James.
yeah. February is actually 2000.
2000.
I was going to my mother's house. My little sister was actually staying with her. My mom was out of town or whatever. So me and AJ were going over there. I had to work the next day. She didn't. And so we drove separately and we stopped. We ordered a pizza. So I was taking the back road to get this pizza and I'm sitting at a stoplight. Been sitting there a few seconds and this car pulls up next to me and it looked like somebody waved. And I'm real close to my house. So I didn't think anything of it. I looked over, assuming it was a neighbor, and there's this crazy guy in the passenger seat and he's flipping me off and he's cussing me out. And I was just like, oh, okay, like whatever. I didn't pay any attention to him. And he's just yelling and screaming and just being crazy. And I kind of looked over again and there was a female driving the car and she leans up and she just gives me one of these, like, don't mess with them type thing. And I'm like, okay, no big deal. So I sit and he's just belligerent, just going nuts for a while. And so finally, we're both in turn lane, so we're both turning left. So she pulls her car up enough that we don't really see each other. And I was like, okay, light will turn green, they'll drive off, it's fine. Well, the car pulls back, and when the car pulls back, I see the guy pull a gun out. And it's 9mm. I recognize the weapon, and I was like, "Oh, that's no good." And he goes, "Are you afraid of this?" And in my head, I was like, "Yes, yes, I am definitely afraid of that." So I was just going to continue going straight. I was going to run the light, but I stopped. I paused just long enough to look to make sure I wasn't going to hit anybody when I hit the gas, and I didn't even have time to hit the gas. Before my foot ever came off the brake, it felt like my head exploded. The guy had shot me. So it went through my window. I was wearing my seatbelt and it knocked me into my passenger seat. So it broke the seatbelt retractor, like the thing that stops you when you get in a car accident, completely just ripped that out. And I'm laying there kind of in both seats. And I'm instantly blind. I'm deaf. Just this loud ringing in my ears. And my first thought was I could have other bullets whizzing by me. He could be shooting. He could be walking up on me.
So you were still being able to think while that was happening.
Yeah, it was kind of I was like, man, I've been punched in kickboxing a couple times. That was a really hard punch, because I shook it off and I was like, I had to function, and I knew I had to function because he could be walking up to finish me off, or he could be shooting me again.
And you were by yourself?
I was by myself, yeah. So I literally just kept my head down. I hit the gas. I started driving, and I was just honking my horn, just completely blind. Just and as I drove, I drove probably about a block or two, and I started getting a little vision back as I was going, and after driving for a minute, I kind of hit another car. So just a little bit. I clipped him a little bit. But once I did that, I felt like, okay, I've at least gotten someone's attention, that someone has to stop now. So I got I threw my car in park. I got out, and this was 20 years ago. So we didn't have.
How old were you at that time?
I was 20.
You were 20.
So we didn't have cell phones or anything at the time, so I couldn't call anybody. But the gentleman whose car I had hit, he was already on his cell phone. So I got out and I approached him and I was like, hey, call 911. I've been shot. And I leaned on the poor guy's car, I didn't have anything else to do. So I leaned on this guy's car, and I remember the amount of blood coming out of my head was just insane.
Oh my God, man, that's sometimes you complain about life, man.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was crazy. Like, and I was like, oh my God, I'm bleeding to death. And I'm getting blood all over this poor guy's car. So I backed up and I just kneeled down. And as soon as I kneeled down in the road, I remember looking up and there was a sheriff's deputy walking toward me. And I said, some guy at that light just shot me in the face. Like, I think I said, another word in there. But and he just he was kind of frozen. He goes, give me your ID and a couple of phone numbers to call. So, I literally just grabbed my wallet and I threw it at him. And, I'm trying to remember, like, phone numbers,
Yeah.
So I think I gave him, like, my dad's number and my mom's number, who wasn't at home. And so I sat there for a minute. Another deputy got there. Ambulance got there pretty quick. They cut all my clothes off. So this is like February in Indiana, so it's freezing. And I'm actually on an overpass now, so it's like extra cold. But they cut all my clothes off down to my underwear, and threw me in the ambulance, took me to the hospital.
Oh, yeah. And you're here.
Yeah.
So how was it like how long you had to stay in the hospital?
So I was in the hospital 3 days. So not long. But the bullet hit my cheekbone and drove straight in. So it's still.
Yeah. So guys, you can see that he still have the thing here on his eyes. So
yeah. So that's like the entry point, and then I actually have there's 2 metal plates, and they kind of crisscross to reconstruct the cheekbone. So I'm probably about 95+% blind in that eye. And I have a lot of issues with my left ear and stuff because of the impact and everything.
Got it. Yeah, but which belt you were at that time?
So I was a blue belt.
So you were blue belt back then, and now you're black belt.
Yeah, yep. So
and
we're 20 years later. Yeah.
Yeah, and guys, we work together. James has done a ton of instruction, so it's amazing to see like how he had this horrible accident on his life, but. And now he has an amazing life still, so he overcame that, and life keeps going, right? And you probably feel like you were born again and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, and like you and I kind of touched on it earlier, but jiu-jitsu really kept me going. Like, so I was shot February 20th, and I was assistant instructor when our academy opened 2 weeks later. So I was there on the mat when the academy opened. I couldn't train at all. Like I could barely walk. Like I was laying on the edge of the mat. Like, don't do that, But it gave me something to do, and it gave me a reason to get out of the house. And then once my health started getting better, it gave me goals. I was like, okay, like here's my next goal. My next goal is to be able to roll, and then I want to be able to compete. And so we went. What was it? So February, I think August, I believe, right? I was released from the doctor. I was able to get,
So how many
impact
months after?
So about 5-6 months later. It was August or September. So about 5 or 6 months later, the doctor, they didn't want any pressure on my eye. They didn't want me to get choked. I wasn't supposed to lift or strain or anything like that. And like a Thursday evening, I went in and the doctor said, okay, you can get choked again. Friday morning, we got in the car. I drove to Tennessee and I competed on Saturday.
Oh, that's amazing.
So,
that's amazing.
It's like,
And for how long have you been in black belt now?
I'm right at almost 12 years now at black belt.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so guys, sometimes we complain about life, right? We complain like about my elbow's hurting, this and that. Now imagine this situation, like when you just got shot on your head, but you're still alive, and now you're trying to come back to the normal, and you actually did, and now you're a black belt. Everybody knows you here in USA for your jiu-jitsu, and you're a jiu-jitsu star, right? You shoot instructional videos and that. So really, really cool story, James. All my respect, man, because I think this means more than winning any world title or anything like that.
For sure.
You won the toughest tournament. Thank you, James.
Awesome.
Yeah, guys, I want to share this story with you guys because I think it's gonna inspire a lot of you who are dealing with problems and practice jiu-jitsu. So I think jiu-jitsu can be a great tool to overcome anything you are dealing with.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
And this is a true story, I'm not making it. You can see on his face. So thank you, James. And all
awesome.
my respect. Thank you. Appreciate it.